Welcome, everybody. So this episode of the Bird's Nest is a first. I'm so glad you're with us. It is the first time in I want to say a couple years I've been doing this, that I'm having a guest back on for the second time. Now, it is somebody that I know well. Him and I work together in terms of some ventures. I consider him a friend. He will chop it up with me. He's agreed to come on, and I have some hard questions ready, honestly. So, Mando Sallavanti, how are you, man?
Dave, my man, so excited for this. Appreciate you having me back. I didn't know that stat that I'm the first second time guest.
You're the first,
And
second time,
anytime we can say
dude.
that,
There's
I'm in good
nobody else.
company.
There's and if you're a former guest and listening, I apologize. Mondo was the first person that I thought of to have back, right? And for the folks who don't know him, he is the financial advisor, MassMutual. I'm gonna give him. There's a lot of things I'm missing, but let's put it this way, and we're gonna get into his rise here. And correct me if I'm wrong. You've been in the industry 4 to 5 years. Is that close?
Yeah, four and
Okay,
a half right now.
4.5. Let's get technical with it. So four and a
Got to
half.
be exact, man. We're
Gotta
dealing
be
with
exact.
numbers. Come on.
4.5 years. He is number 25 in the entire country in terms of a financial for advisor. And out of how many is that, bro?
7,000.
7,000. So that puts you in the top, what, 3% of all advisors at 4 years? Not bad. Higher than
Point,
that.
I think 0.3%, I think.
Well, okay. Okay, that's good. So that's
Roughly.
good. See, I'll stop
Numbers
there on
guy.
my math skills. Okay, good job. So, but look, the reason we wanted to come on is that we were laughing before we hit the record button, as I make sure we're recording, is that when you came on, I saw you on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, that guy's unique, right? Like, he's not my typical, no offense to your profession, connect with me and hit me up on if I want to, move my 401k, right? And you were unique in your content, and your content still is unique. But you shared some with me before we came on. 2 years ago, you came on, which time flies, right? You had 7,000 people on LinkedIn. You were doing your thing. Now you're at how many?
Just approaching 38,000. Probably will cross it within by the weekend. By the time the weekend's over, I'll be over 38,000.
It's crazy. So you're 5x, right? You now you've risen up in terms of your rankings in your organization. You're doing speaking engagements across the country that are usually reserved for 20-year veterans, right? You have opportunities that you never would have thought of, I dare say, 3 years ago, right? Um, and really, it boils down to this. What the hell happened? What happened in the past 2 years that has taken you from where I saw you was here and like, yeah, he's good, he's interesting, to here?
Dave, I think that it all started with where I was looking forward to. And even when we talked 2 years ago, like I saw what I wanted for myself and dare I even say what my potential could be. Backing up on that, where I am today, I even surprise myself sometimes of like the rooms of people that I'm in conversations, being able to have the conversation and actually belong there. And then I'll like go home and I'm like, how did that just happen? And, but I think back, like, I remember when I was a kid growing up, and I did tell this story in our first conversation, but it's worth repeating.
Yeah.
Growing up, I always looked up to my dad. He's a family doctor, grew up well. We weren't filthy rich, but I got a bat at Little League. I got new shoes for school. And when Christmas came, I had presents under the tree. Like it was a good childhood, really looked up to my dad. Now, because of that, I wanted to be just like him. He's my first hero. And as I got into high school, I did really good in school, especially in sciences. And it's so funny. I was like this football guy, and then my school was sending me to take like competitively scored chemistry tests against like people all over the country. No, no lie, this is like real. Like this is it's something I haven't touched on too much. So, anyways, as this is happening, I'm like, all right, like I could do this science thing. I'll play football until I can't. Then we'll go be a doctor. Now as that didn't materialize, to make a long story short, and I got into business, I started in finance in 2020. I was interning and working part-time starting in June of 2020. And then December of 2020, I was like, all right, college is done, football is done, going full time. So I actually got off to a fast start in my industry. I did well. I did all of the old school things in business of cold calling and networking events and getting referrals and like being out in public and give away business cards and like all these things. Like I did all the things and I was good at them and it worked. But I was kind of feeling burned out. And back to like, what's the evolution been? I believe a lot of the success I've had, you mentioned speaking engagements that are usually reserved for 20-year veterans. I was top 25 at Mass in terms of financial planning fees and number of clients plans done for last year in both categories. And I believe I've been able to do some of these things, some of these notable things, because I look at things and one thing to backtrack. I am not the guy that will take nothing and create an idea. Like I'm not going to like think of something totally unique that's never existed. But what I'm really good at doing, I can take an existing idea, so the way something is done or an existing thing that lives, and my mind, I'm like an architect of how can I pull this thing apart 90 ways, put it back together and find the best way to do something. So when it came to my business, that's what led to me creating on LinkedIn. I'm like, this is such a more efficient way than making 200 cold calls every week and begging for referrals from every person I talk to and going to 3 hour networking events where I might talk to three people and have meaningful conversations. I'm like, this is the thing. So the one thing that like has sparked all this is that architect mindset. And in practice, it really ended up being LinkedIn and a lot of things beneath the surface. But that's how I perceive it at a very minimum.
So if I'm boiling this down, you looked at it and said, I'm not doing the cold call in the old way. I think there's a new way on LinkedIn, right? And I can do this better. Now, you talk a lot about your coach or you invest in coaching and, hey, I'm gaining insight, I'm gaining knowledge. That's how I'm really wealthy or I'm going to be successful, right? When did you start that piece in terms of the coaching piece? Really, really diving into that.
I remember my first year in business when I was starting to hit some success. I was probably, actually, I know exactly when this was. It was around July of 2021. And I had been on LinkedIn at this point semi-passively. I wasn't really posting all the time, but I was consuming. One of the people that I came across, his name is Simon, who he became the first coach I hired that year in August. And when I hired Simon, that was like my first time where I said, I'm just going to pay this guy and he probably knows something I don't. Well, the fact of the matter is, I was in my first year in business. I could have paid probably anybody and I would have got value, like
Mm-hmm.
realistically. So, kind of like circumstantially lucky from that point, but the mindset was there, right? Now, off of that, what I was doing for the prior year before that, because we're talking August, I finished school in December in the prior year, but like I was in the industry in June as an intern. And then even when I was back at school, I was still in the office around people, like meeting with clients even while I was in college. So as I was going through that, one of the great things about being affiliated and partnering my business with MassMutual, you have this network of advisors. And all the top advisors who have the most successful businesses, like there are lists of these people. So you can very easily track them down. And we have an entire directory of like, I could just call like the number one guy if I wanted to. Now, would he pick up? I don't know. But anyways, what I started doing, I would reach out to all the top people that I was seeing their names on lists and in publications and in the news. And I was just like, could I get 15 minutes of your time on your drive home to ask you questions about how you built it and what you did? I didn't even know what I was asking for, but what I started to realize is if I could hear how these people did it and what they did and what they're living now, it's funny how that becomes more realistic in your own mind. Like it becomes more familiar. So you start to realize, hey, that guy came from nothing and he's making this and he's got this business and he was way behind where I'm at this point, and look where he is. Like I wish I could be there. And you start to in your mind think, oh, it's not that out of reach. And I think that alone, when you're starting to invest in yourself, is super, super powerful.
Man. So now look, you turned me on to to the book, Think and Grow Rich.
Hmm.
That has a lot of it. I mean, that's what pops in my head right there is it cues your mind into what is possible. And then your mind just starts, thinking here,
Yeah.
to going, hey, what could be? You said you paid Simon. How much? Do you remember how much you paid him?
Yeah, I remember exactly. It was the first time I ever invested in myself. $4,500 for a 6 week.
4,500.
Yeah, for a 6 week program. And like I was scared at the time, man.
It scares.
But
I mean, I'm not dropping 4,500. I would have to call you and go, hey, am I like 4,500 is no small change, right? You weren't making big money. Like you
no,
weren't, right? You
I
guys are
was only
living
working for 6 months, like
right.
literally.
And you're 45 of your own money, not, let's be clear, not your mommy, daddy money. That's your
No.
money, 4,500. You're like, yeah. What allowed you to do that? That's a big chunk. I mean, it's no small change.
Well, back to as I was growing up and wanted to be like my dad, one of the things, it was a blessing and a curse how I grew up because more of a blessing than anything because I've cultivated the mindset to look at it that way. And I think my parents have raised me that way, quite frankly, to realize this. But when you grow up and your dad's a doctor, especially in a small town in Pennsylvania, guess what everybody calls you? The doctor's son or daddy's boy. Like, let's just be real. And then when they know you want to go be a doctor, your nickname is Doc. So then there's the narrative, and that is still my nickname. My best friend calls me Doc to this day, even though I'm a financial advisor. Besides the point. Um, then it's like, oh yeah, of course you're gonna do that. Daddy's gonna hand you that over too. You're just gonna get out of
Yep.
school and here you go.
Yep.
There's the practice.
Yep.
So as I got into this business in a weird way, I was so focused. And you know what, Dave, I still kind of am so focused on I'm not even like it's not even about revenge to go back and tell people like, "Oh, look at me now, I'm succeeding." But it's like I'm just going to succeed so much that you people are going to see me with zero correlation to my dad, well beyond what he has done. I love my dad to death, but like this is literally what motivates me. Well beyond what he has done that you're not even relevant to my life and you can't deny that anything was given to me. Like that sounds so funny saying it out loud, but like
No, it sounds
that
so
is
damn powerful, is
but
what it sounds.
but
Right?
like that is how I think when it comes to that. And I don't even remember your original question because I get
No,
so
that's no,
fired
no,
up
no.
from this.
You got it. Look, man, I know. I can tell. I've talked to you enough on this. When I know something hits, I hit a little bit of a nerve there with
You
that one.
see this bit like a vein
Yeah,
popping up.
right. There's a little bit of a, hey man, I'm ready to go tackle somebody right in the hole right now, right?
Put the helmet on behind me.
Right, seriously. Now I don't know if you get the speed anymore, bro, but like you're there. Get low. Whatever football term I can throw out. I never
That was
played football.
perfect. That was perfect.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So, but look, I mean, you talk a lot about investing. I've learned a lot from you. I don't know if you even know that, but even in terms of daily cycle and what books to read and kind of how you
Yeah.
think. And I think a lot of people look at you and go, "Yeah, I could never do that." Right? And it's easy to think that because here you are, right? You're traveling to where the hell did you guys go? You went
We were
somewhere.
yeah, we were just down in Miami for a week.
Right. You're in Miami. You posted up, hey, here's the Bentley. You're driving on the Royce. You're driving around renting and right and all that. And
For
I'm
a
sure
day.
a lot of people read this and go, yeah, man, that's great and all. I can't get there. Right. Like, what would you
Yeah.
tell that person who looks at that and goes, "Yeah, great, man, you made it, awesome, thanks for that, but I can't get there."
Well, and let's actually go back to what you just asked me about, like, 4,500 bucks. That's a lot. Like, you weren't really making money at the time. You're barely
Right,
supporting yourself.
right,
The best thing I ever did when I was 22 years old, I cut myself off from my parents and I didn't need to. My parents were paying for everything for me. Car, like food stocked in the fridge, of course. Why not? Paying for my insurance, my cell phone bill. I cut myself off from everything except the cell phone. I'll be honest, because when I went to do it, they're like, yeah, your cost is going to triple. And then the agreement was to Venmo my dad, but that didn't happen much. So my dad paid my cell phone for another year or
did
two.
you
But
cut it off? I had to ask, like, when did you cut it off? Or you still on it?
no, 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 no. The cell phone did get cut off
I don't
eventually.
know.
Eventually.
What we'll have to figure that out later. I'm not sure about that, but we'll figure it out. But
the,
go ahead.
the investigators are out on the cell phone.
Seriously, people are people,
But
the people want to, like, oh, I'll track that down right now.
but seriously, I cut myself off at 22. And like the funny one was, you stay on health insurance till 26, but I cut myself off and my dad's like, "What are you, a freaking idiot? Like
Right,
your health insurance, like what are you doing?" And
right,
I said to him, I'm like, "Dad, you don't understand. I am in a profession that I am going out and teaching people how to manage all of their stuff, and just subconsciously, if I'm not doing that for myself, I I will not be able to be the best advisor possible and have the conviction behind what I'm doing. So I just have to do it." So like that was step one. And I think everyone listening to this isn't going to be someone who's 22 years old just getting into their career. But I think what that equates to, and now to like the question you just recently asked here, Dave, like how do you get to this point? I have a back against the wall mentality. When I wake up, I look at my alarm every day on my phone and it's labeled, "What life did you sign up for?" Now, what does that mean? To me, that means every single action that I take every single day is voting for a life that I will live now and in the future. So if I go downstairs after we do this recording and I start slamming Reese's peanut butter cups, well, guess what? I'm signing up for a life where I'm probably going to be out of shape and not like what I look like. So that's an easy example to give. But how do you get to this point? Over the last 5 years in my career, everything I've done, waking up early and working out, reading consistently or working on a course or a coaching program consistently, the work I'm doing on myself in my profession to be better for my clients and improve the process that I'm doing with them and the ongoing work we do, like those are actions that are voting for a life I'm living. Because ultimately, if I become a better advisor with a more buttoned up process and I could give better outcomes with more value to my clients, guess what that also does? I probably make more money because I give more value to people. So ultimately, like, what life am I signing up for? What actions am I taking? I have programmed my mind to obsessively think about that. And day by day by day by day, it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. You do one good thing at a time that stacks on the other, stacks on the other, stacks on the other, and you develop one skill at a time in doing that through what you do, fail, and learn from, that eventually you look up and it's like, oh my God, I've got real estate properties. I've got a consulting business. I've got my bread and butter financial business. I'm getting social media partnerships. I'm getting paid to speak. I'm able to go travel and come back and like talk about it with my clients who are doing the same things. Like you don't just do it overnight. And it's so cliche and it's so frustrating because you want to change your life. But the fact of the matter is you change your life one action at a time.
So what was it? Monday. Monday. It seems like this is Wednesday, by the way, for everybody listening. On Monday, I went to the gym. I signed up, went to the gym, small group, probably 10 of us, small gym, not a CrossFit, but strength. Kicked my ass, right? Humble when you're sitting there at 6:42, wishing that 18 minutes would fly by like that. You're half dizzy and you got another round to go. And your trainer's looking at you, going, "All right, man, you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, right." I'm like, "What's the worst that could happen?" Right? We finish it. And I remember I posted about it, right? And I was like, "Hey, I got to share this because this is important to me. It may be cringy on LinkedIn. I don't really give a damn, whatever." I got through it and I'm happy about it. You wrote a comment that said, I'm going to butcher it, but it's close. Don't try and do a year in one day. Just do the one day of workout. And I remember that, and I read it, and I was like, I mean, honestly, I'll say it. This show's not for kids. I was like, fuck him. He's right. I was like, damn it. I was like, he's right. Right. I was like, he's always right. I was like, damn it. I was like, here we are. Right. But you're right. Like I read it and I was like, is he right? Right. I was like, that's it. And I thought about it and I was like, I'm not going to get way back to where I was in one day. So I got to be happy with, I went, busted my ass, sweat, ate right, good day, check. Right. And that's it. And then go from year two. I mean, that comment fits what you just said.
Dave,
Right. It just
on that
fits.
point, I want to get this in, like where that came from as well. A couple years ago, through a friend, I get introduced to a guy by the name of Aaron Williamson, and Aaron is a high level personal trainer for people in Hollywood and different movies. Like Aaron has trained real names: Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Zac Efron, like real players. And his specialty is transformations in 90 days. Like he'll change your life. And when I was working with Aaron, he said to me, he's like, Mondo, look, the way you change anything, whether you're talking about body composition, whether you're talking about anything in your life, you go in the gym and you have this whole 90-day program ahead of you that we're going to work on. And he was telling me this as we were getting started. He's like, you're going to go do your first set. I don't want you to think about any other part of this program other than you're attacking this rep on this set, and you're going to focus on your breathing, and you're going to finish the set and take the prescribed rest that's going to be in your training app. You're going to do the next set or the next rep on the next set and go to the next one. When you're drinking your water before your meal and taking the supplements I'm telling you to take, you're going to just do that. You're not going to think about the dinner you got to eat later on. That's it. And when Aaron broke it down for me like that, number one, at the time, I got in the best shape of my life, which was awesome. And I'm trying to get back to that, but we're working on it. And number two, I'm like, this is the same thing with business. This is the same thing with finance. Like, I just got to get through this next call. I just got to get through this next day. I don't have to do a year's worth of my meetings in one day. It translates to everything.
Yeah, no, I think I had no idea that we would hit on this. That's why I always love these conversations because they always go in a way that I don't think they're going to go. And literally, I think I get more out of it by doing this. Obviously, I'd love for people to hear it. I think you really bring something special to like how you think, your success and such. But I always gain a lot out of this. And I think that right there is a very, very good reminder to me of how to kind of approach things. But you've had a couple of years now since we were there. We've seen your successes. Where have you failed at? Like, what's been something that, all right, I learned, because you said it about 5 minutes ago. I do it, I succeed, I fail, I learn, and you said it quickly. So now I'm curious. What's one where you failed and you really learned something from that?
Well, I think winners are just people who fail more than anyone, is what I've learned from the most successful people that I've talked to. And I mean, people that are in their 30s and making multiple millions, deca millions in a year. And like, this is what I learned whenever I've had the privilege to rub shoulders with people like this. For me, Dave, I look at a lot of my client relationships in my business, and I think you'll probably shake your head as I say this. There's a lot of times with my clients where there'll be some sort of little mistake that I might make, or a mishap or whatever. And I believe a lot of people in business in general, whatever profession you're in and working with a client facing profession, a little mistake very easily compounds to a big one. Why does it compound to a big one? Because they don't have the guts to go back to the client and say, I screwed this up. Here's what we got to do. This is next. You know this because we work together. Like, I'm just like, I'm going to call it out and tell you, hey, man, I messed up. This is what we got to do. That's next. And like, I've had a million little mistakes like that. It's so funny. This morning, I was just talking to my assistant, Nicole, about this, literally. Um, I have no problem going to someone and say, like, this is what it is. This is what has to get done. Has to get done. And I'm just always about finding the solution. I don't care what the issue is. Whatever's happened is past us. We can't change that, but we can fix how we move forward. So I don't have a big thing that I'm like, man, I dropped the ball on that. But I can tell you right now, I've got a million little ones.
It's interesting. You don't think about the little ones and you learn, from it. Everybody always goes to that big failure and you learn from it. But you're saying I learn a lot. Well, there's two things really. One is I learn a lot still from the little mistakes. I still learn from the little mistakes. That's fine. But B, I'm being honest with folks and I'm going to correct it immediately and not let it snowball. And, there's the old saying, bad news doesn't get good with time, right?
Yeah.
Just go, right? Hey,
Yeah.
screwed it. Let's go.
And I think a lot of people avoid that because they're afraid of confrontation. But for me, what I've realized, I'm like, okay, this happened. I screwed up for Dave. Well, Dave's only going to leave me in 9 months if I don't fix this. So if I don't have the guts to go confront him and say this and tell him what he needs to hear, even though I know he might not want to hear it right now,
Yeah,
like it's only going to bite me down the road. So let's make it happen and let's just get it done.
yeah. So let's take a look at your social media success comes with some other things, right? It's going to come with some people who aren't quite nice and may hate and give you a little bit of flack for posting about your travel and look at me, right?
Penny.
How do you deal with that?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Number one, anyone who knows me and actually reads my content, because a lot of the hate I get, I almost respond every time. I'm like, did you actually read the whole post? Because I do talk about a lot of like my travel and what I'm doing and like where my success is at. But every time I talk about it, it's always here's what it means for you and how it can help you. And for me, like I want it to be an example of this is what's possible. Like I'm 27 years old and I talk about this a lot. Actually, I haven't talked about this on LinkedIn in a while, but like Dave, if I cut off all my most of my software subscriptions, I I cut off my team that I pay to help with my financial planning business, where my business is at right now, I could like minimize my expenses, only maintain my current client base, and like I am literally financially free. Like that is not an exaggeration. The numbers are there. It's 100% fact. I don't do that because I don't want to. I want to help more people and continue to grow. But like, I want to show what's possible for people. And that's why I talk about those things. I think that if we could think through an abundance mindset of like, oh my God, this is what Mondo's doing. What can I learn from him? That's where I can help people. So it's going to repel some people, but I think it's going to attract the right people. What's really funny is now that I've been doing it for 3 years and like just sharing my journey. I mean, if you looked at my content 3 years ago, it was really just struggles because that's what I was facing. It's evolved. And now I can look at my client base and be like, all these people are abundantly minded people that think big and want everyone to win and are just like, what could I learn from this person? And sneak peek to you and for anyone who's listening to this podcast, one of the things I'm going to do, Dave, it won't be this year. It might be next year. It definitely will be by 27. I want to start holding events where I bring the clients together. And because you guys are, and I say you guys, you and my other clients, you're mostly around the country. So I'm like trying to think of where could I make this an event where, hey,
Vegas. It's Vegas. I
yeah,
want to go
Vegas.
spend. I want to go, and we're all going to line up and ask permission of how much we can go to the tables with.
Yeah. Hey, how
On
much
that.
are we taking to the table?
And you're going to be like in some chair, and we're also going to line up. And we're going to have a
I'll
live
be the dealer.
stream.
We'll set up a private table. I'm the dealer.
A
But
live stream of us asking of like, hey, how much? Well, like, and you're like, you start looking in the book like fucking Santa Claus. I'm like,
yeah, right.
hey man, yes, that's my
But
idea.
but to that point, like I want to hold stuff like that. And I'm like, man, this is gonna be so cool because with social media, just putting my authentic self out there, sharing the lessons, sharing the stories, being me, it attracts the people that are attracted by that. It also repels other people, but that good man, it's so much stronger than the bad. And I just can't wait till I could start to really bring that vision to life of like the in person and bringing that together because I know, I get on a call with someone like you who's been working with me for a while now, and like I enjoy working with you, and like we have good calls and stuff like that. I'm like, man, how lucky am I to just what I do for a living is get on a call with Dave, help him solve a couple things with his money, have a conversation, probably bust each other about something else for the majority of the call,
Fair.
and
Yeah.
like go on with
Fair.
my day. And that the price of the hate that comes for the people who disagree with me, that's a
Yeah.
price I'm willing to pay all day. And at the end of the day, hate never comes from above, number one. And number two, their mean comments only help me get seen by more people. So keep them coming.
The few things there. One, on your event, have us bring a guest. It can be a friend, it can be your spouse, it can be whoever. I think that would be cool,
Well, we're gonna
right?
do spouses, definitely. Definitely spouses.
Definitely spouses. Um, and then I'd love to see, I don't know, I think it'd be cool to see some speakers and see who you could line up and have us listen to, and then have the
Yeah.
event at night or something like that, right? Have it, whatever. I think that would be cool. And that's what happened next year. That's what happened in 2026. I'm just going to throw it
Yeah.
out there and say, look, come on, we can do it, right?
You set the goal on, you set the fire under me now. But hey,
Right. That's,
that's the
I mean,
thing.
that would
You put it
be,
out there. You put it out there. You talk about it. It starts to become more familiar. I've been
it's
talking.
not, I know Nicole as your assistant. She's phenomenal. I'm pretty sure you can hand her this project and go, hey,
Me and
go
her
play.
have been. We've been talking about it
I
for a
guarantee
while now.
you could figure. I mean, come on, man. You're talking about, hey, hotel, I'm going to give me a block of rooms at a discounted rate. Cool. Give me a place where I can hold this with X amount of people. Great. I need 3 speakers in this city that's centrally located, maybe Chicago, Nash, Chicago, Nashville's probably central, right? Do something, well, not Nashville, but Chicago could be, right?
Maybe
Cool,
Florida. Everyone likes
cool
Florida.
city.
That
Florida's
might not be a
cool.
bad idea.
Whatever. I don't think, honest to God, I don't think it's that hard. You don't have to go into laser light shows. I think the idea of coming together would be phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just telling. It doesn't have to be spectacular, man. It just has
that's
to
true.
be year one. I think it'd be spectacular. You mentioned spouses, so I'm going to go there. Right. I had the pleasure of working with your wife a little bit in terms of travel. Travel agent. She kind of coached me a little bit. Your content, I've been following you long enough to understand that's not a fluke, right? You've done, and she is a phenomenal producer of your stuff, right? There's no some of your stuff. I'm like, there's obvious. I'm texting you at 7 a.m. I was like, I'm sure she did this, right? But that's been something that you've been more open about. You've been more open about your relationship, how she's kind of helped you, her, you guys being new entrepreneurs, being together, understanding it together, now growing together. Why was that? Like, what's been the evolution of that? Like, how did that come to be in terms of now you're open to sharing that?
There's a few things. Number one, I look back to with Mattia, we started dating when I was 15, she was 16 in high school. And I look back to then, it's like I'm this dude, chasing girls in high school, and like she's got a dozen guys chasing her, and it's like, oh man, like I'm dating this chick now, like this is awesome. And one thing leads to another, and one day goes by, the next day goes by, next thing you look up and like you're 22 years old, you're still dating. You got through college and all the fights that come along through that. And all right, we're kind of adults now and we're still together. Like we're doing this thing, I guess. So then, career starts taking off a little bit. A couple years go by. Now you're 23, 24. You get engaged. All right, now we buy a house. We're living together. Like, okay, we're doing this thing now. So this is real. So to answer your question, she's been like huge for me, not just as a supportive partner, but I would even say like in ways that she doesn't know as a growth partner because when I started this business, I mean, in financial services, the way I started building a business from zero. Like, sure, I have my partnership with MassMutual, but ultimately, like, I have my partnership with MassMutual and their network is I get access to some advisors to learn from. And if I have client cases that I might not understand what's going on, like I have people I could go to and like they help me. But guess what that doesn't do. It doesn't give me the people to actually have to help to even have situations that I need their help from. I have to find those people. So with her, she's like, when I started, Dave, I'm like role playing phone calls with her, role playing my meetings with her. She's like, you sound like an idiot. Like, that's so robotic. I'm like, okay, let's try this. Like, stuff like that. And then it's like, Mattia, who, like, I got to look at your contacts. Like, who could you like introduce me to? Like, stuff like that. And she would do it because she's just like, I know this was coming off my football career, being a football guy. It's like, I was always on every team I played, Dave. So in college, I was a captain for 3 years. That's not, I mean, anyone that's around sports, like, that's not common that you have someone who's a captain on a college football team as a sophomore. Like that really doesn't happen. Um, so like I was always the guy. I'm the first one there. I'm working harder than anybody else. I'm helping everybody. I'm supporting everybody. I'm staying the longest. Like that was always me. So when I got in my career, Mattia's like, you were always that guy with that. I know you're going to be the same with this. I don't even know what you do, but like, yeah, I'll help you. And that's where it started in the career. And then as I grew and like me and her, as we've it's so weird because not weird, but it's interesting actually. When you're with someone for now almost 12 years now, which is wild. You almost not almost, you're completely different people. Like I can look at probably four different phases of our relationship that I'm like, I was literally with a different person. And the person I'm with now for probably the last year and a half is a completely different person than I was with before that, before that, before that. And I would hope she'd say the same about me in some way, shape, or form for a good way, right? And this latest evolution has really been like there's been a concerted effort as it's gotten closer to our wedding and us combining our finances. Well, we are married, but our wedding reception, I should say, and combining our finances of like I want you to understand my business and I want you to understand our finances at a high level. And I want you to understand why I'm putting money and where I'm putting it and why and what this means for us and what it's doing for us and tying it back to the vision that me and her want for our life. Because then, Dave, when I'm traveling to Washington, D.C. in a couple weeks for 3 nights, and I'm speaking 3 different times at MassMutual's annual conference with the 7,000 advisors and staff and whoever else is there. Like she's not like giving it to me. She's not mad at me. She's not like you're not home or whatever. She's like, I get that this is what you're doing because this is what it means to our life. So for me, I have found in a weird way, I kind of came to this conclusion in financial planning that I'm like, when the client knows that I know their vision and I'm giving them the technical advice for their situation, I'm like, if they know I understand the vision, they're going to trust me that the technical advice I'm giving them is in their best interest to get to what they want. So then I look at my relationship and I'm like, why is it any different? It's not. It's like the same thing. I need her to be on that same page with me vision wise and like what we're doing in our day to day. So, anyways, to make a long story come to a close here, me and her have grown closer in different ways than we ever have before. And I've just it's just been what's front of mind for me. And I think it's just coming out of my content because I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it very often.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. And I've been married, I think Alicia and I are going on 25 years. And we had the same conversation the other day that we're just different people. We're different people and we've evolved. And I'm pretty sure she's still like super smart and mature. And I've actually like I've gotten there eventually. You know, but it's I mean, I'm right there with you. And I share my family and usually my kids will, be with me in the, funny video or a picture. I mean, they're part of me. That's who I am, and I want people to know me on social. And I think that's important. I think you doing that, I think opens up, people say, hey, it's okay. You can see who I really am, and
Yeah.
and that's fine. All right. So let's kind of wrap up here a little bit. Um, one question I'm not letting you go though before I ask is, you ever scared that, you know, it won't end up the way you want it to end up?
Every
Like
day.
you're You know, does it ever come to your mind that you're biting off too much, or like it's someone's going to, like, is there something in your back of your head that's a little bit of like, hey man, I'm not supposed to be here. Maybe this will, something will happen at some point.
Every day, like every day, I wake up and go to bed like, well, like is this gonna stop? When's this gonna stop? And especially now, because in what I do, which is obviously money every day, all day is all I talk about. What do you always hear about? The people who made millions and lost it all. The people who did whatever lost it all. And like the cliche example that always gets talked about in our industry, at least, is like, oh, you have the Rockefellers and their money's still going generations later, and you had the Vanderbilts that were richer than literally the United States, and they're all broke and no one knows who they are. Like, so I think, and I'm not a millionaire yet by any means, but I'm like, man, I'm having some success. Like, what's stopping this from being taken from me? And what brings me back are a couple things. Number one, like faith is super centered in my life. And I believe that if I keep faith at the center of my life with God, I'm religious. I don't push it on anybody, but that's like my personal values. And that prayer I shared one day, it's actually from Martin Luther King originally, but I shared it. I know you mentioned to me like it resonated. It goes, use me, God, show me how to take who I am, who I want to be, and use me for a purpose greater than myself. I believe if I focus on what my purpose is outside of myself, everything will always come back to me and my life will turn out just fine. So if I could say, how could I serve the people in front of me every day and add value to whoever's in my network, whether that's having a conversation for your podcast, whether that's a client meeting them, delivering a strategy that's going to change their life, if it's doing a talk, if it's connecting to people that I think really could benefit from knowing each other, whatever that is, I'm like, let me just focus there and I'll be cool. Second, I had a post about this today. Money and investing money builds wealth, but our knowledge is what keeps the wealth. So if I just continue to focus on what are the things that I need to do to continue to level up and focus on, I'll be just fine. And in financial services, like your clients could fire you any day. You don't know. You got to keep bringing it because if you don't keep bringing it, they're not going to keep paying you. If there's not value, there's no point there. So I'm constantly just like, how do I grow? How do I grow? How do I grow? And funny enough, Dave, like this year, my business right now, it's tracking like 60% ahead of what it was last year. And I'm like, I woke up January 1st this year, like, how am I going to do it again? How am I going to keep getting clients? Where are they going to come from? And when you focus on the right moves, you focus on serving others, I think it all takes care of itself.
I can't end that any better. Like honestly, like I came in, I told you, I said I didn't do any prep work for this. Usually I do about an hour and a half of prep work. I get questions, I understand backgrounds. I want to go. I literally had about 3 questions for you, and we go from there. And I think you nailed it, right? I always watch this back, and I tell my team, the guy I know to how to edit it and like what parts. I probably have 5 or 6 spots where I think we could pull something out. And if you only listen to that one thing, I think you get something out of this, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted you back on, is because I think you offer that to people. And to everybody listening, I know we go longer than usual. This is 45 minutes. I get it. I hope you, I guess 2 things. One, I hope you got something out of this, and I hope you share it, not for the like, not for the subscribe. I don't really care. I just hope you tell somebody listening to Mando. And two, I hope you follow him online, because I think what he provides, yeah, he provides the financial piece, but if you read, it's not really the financial stuff. It's really the mindset. It's really what he values and kind of how he lives his life, which is way more than money. And I think if you do that, I think you can always get something out of this outside the podcast. So thanks, man. I appreciate it. I don't have anything on the Steelers. I don't have anything for you, right? Other than that, but thank you for being on. Seriously.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. And I'll close with, like you said, come to LinkedIn, and I think what you will see when you look at my content, you think of a financial advisor, of a financial planner, whatever, you think of that image as, you're not going to see me talking about how to use your Roth IRA or your 401k or whatever. Like, sure, these things are great. They're beautiful vehicles to accumulate wealth. But what I talk about is the money stuff is easy if you just take care of what your mindset is and how you're structuring your life and the influences on that. Because if those are in the right place, like, the money stuff's easy. I could tell you what to do with the money, and I could talk to the people if I don't know what to do with the money to get you the right answer. Like, that's the easy part. So it all starts up here, and hearing you articulate that before I even said that means the world to me, because that means that my message is coming across the right way.
100%. He closed. We're done. Mando, thank you again. Everybody, stay with me. Stay with me this summer. We're going to crank out some special guests. Probably no more special than that. But thank you again, everybody. Be safe. See you next week.